Great to have everyone joining us here at the High-Tech Oil Super Series. We are about to go Formula V racing this afternoon on this gorgeous Sunday at Morgan Park Raceway. Let's have a look at the starting grid for race 3 of the Formula Vs. Daniel Reynolds, a 4-time national winner, is going to be out in front with Alex McDonald alongside. There's Michael Westerhout and David Casely alongside that. Dylan Thomas and Oliver Sybil will be in 5th and 6th on the 3rd row. Then there's Matthew Harriott, Michael Kinsella in the 4th row before we get Lisson and Butcher on the 5th row. And then it goes back to Kathy Lisson, Callum Lamont, Mark Moran, Brian Westerhouse. And then we've got the young guns at the back. The Sternbecks are ready to go. The brother and sister combination there, just 14 and 16 years old. They are going to be some up-and-coming talents in the Formula V open wheelers, and it's where so many talents in Australia start. Now have a look at on the starting grid, the number 78. He is ready to go. Daniel Reynolds out of the capital of Australia, the ACT, and that Checkmate chassis. One of the most successful cars in Formula V history is getting ready to go. Can he get another race win here after race 2 yesterday was red flagged in the end with all the rain we had out there for the Formula V. Very hard for him to see. A lot of water mist spray coming up on the cars, and then one of them just dropped a little bit of oil. Now we've already got water everywhere. Add a little bit of oil to that. Gets a little bit too slippery to keep those Formula Vs. Jane McCarthy, you join me back here in the commentary box, and we're getting set for a fantastic Formula V afternoon.
Hashtag bathtub. Not anymore.
I've dried the race seats out overnight. I mean, Dylan Thomas will look to make his way back through the pack. He's jumped in one just for this weekend. Obviously, he used to race the Formula Vs, but been in the TA2, and that's where we've been talking about him the most in the High-Tech Oil Super Series. He did that at round 1, got in his TA2 car with the number 1 on the side, and said, you know what, Morgan Park Formula V, it's going to be a whole heap of fun. He thought that before he saw the weather forecast.
Oh, definitely this, definitely that. And look, as we've spoken about throughout the weekend, Matt, these are a mainstay class anywhere in the world that has motor racing. The United States, England, Australia, New Zealand. And New Zealand, I know them as Formula Firsts, but pretty much the same configuration. And Dylan was alluding to the fact earlier on the weekend, 65th next year, 65th anniversary of Formula V racing in Australia. Wow, that is actually older than me.
Well, you look at them, they are tiny little cars, most of them running the 1600cc Volkswagen engine. Obviously, some of the earlier ones are 1200, but most people are going to upgrade, aren't they? A little bit
big
more.
Block 1600.
Big block 1600. Just over 500 kilos with the race car driver in it. And we know some of these race car drivers are pretty slim and fit, so
I keep
it's a light race car.
I keep forgetting to ask about the horsepower. Look, it's not a lot, but they are a 1600cc air-cooled Volkswagen engine. A lot of these parts will be reproduction, new parts on the cars, because a lot of these Volkswagen parts from original just are not available anymore.
Well, looks like the board has just come in and we're waiting for the red lights to go out. There we go, race start. What a jump though from Alex McDonald in the 51. It looks like he's out in front. They'll slot him behind. David Casely has got up into 3rd position. Dylan Thomas in the CXC machine. Well, he's now in 4th. Wow, they are already moving around the start of this race, and we've got 10 laps.
Well, back in the dry conditions, I'm looking forward to the old classic drafting battle that I got used to commentating back in New Zealand. This is the first time I've seen Formula V racing here in Australia, as the 78 of Reynolds goes down the inside. Now, just watching off that start, that Reynolds Checkmate machine, watch the front wheels on some of the turn-ins and some of the corners. It's almost got this little shimmy effect like an open-wheel sprint car or a midget. I don't know if that's an illusion or what, but just keep an eye out for that. I've picked it up a couple of times, but look, it doesn't seem to hurt the speed because he's out in front right now.
Well, he's got through the first couple of corners, hasn't he? Managed to get that lead back. He started off a pole, Daniel Reynolds from the ACT and that 78 machine, and now he's just going to look at the cars behind him. Can anyone challenge him as they get sort of settled into their positions? Alex McDonald has slotted into 2nd position in the number 51. Currently the Queensland State Champion and leading this year so far.
They're running the Jacer chassis, which is, there's quite a few of the Jacers running in this category. Some of these cars, the original basis dates back to the mid-1970s. 1976, we have an Elfin chassis out there that's of that sort of vintage. There's a couple of Sabres there with 02. I'm going to suggest it's probably 2002. I don't know, it might have been the 2nd generation of the chassis. I'm not too sure, but there's some fantastic names across these different chassis, and it's exactly the same as I make, again, continuing to compare what I know of these type of cars over in New Zealand, which we call Formula First.
So Dave Casely sitting in 3rd position and number 7 as well out of Western Australia, and definitely one that's quick enough to try and battle for a podium. I see Dylan Thomas has just had to give up his 4th position the
Well,
35 entry of Kinsella.
He's just been passed by a 4-time national champion,
Yeah,
so I think Kinsella knows what he's doing in these Formula V cars.
And Dylan Thomas not racing the championship, so there's no point pushing too hard and getting involved.
Can you ask him how long it's been since he raced a Formula V car? It's been a while.
Quite a few years.
Yeah, it's been a while. He did quite a few seasons in them. I think he's raced an improved production. Obviously, you know him from TA2 as the reigning TA2 champion with the High-Tech Super Series. And his intention, and we've talked about this throughout the weekend as well, his intention is to do every round of the High-Tech Super Series this year in a different category. He'll get to a point where he might run out of a class to do, but we've already got one on the recovery, car 88.
Well, that was quick, wasn't
Lachlan
it?
Shearsmith hasn't brought out the safety car, so they might be able to get that off into an area and park up that will negate the safety car, and that'll be a good opportunity if that is the case. So it's the checkmate number 78 out in front. My understanding, there are only 2 of this style of car in existence. This is chassis number 2. See that little shimmy? You saw it too. You did see it.
I did see it, especially when you go over the bumps there into turn number 1.
Yeah, it's very, very weird to watch the front of that car. It's a great shot up underneath the bridge. The approach to that is blind, and then you drop down here to turn 3, and on the brakes you are braking downhill. So the 7 comes into it, Casely. David Casely, all the way from Western Australia. So this is a national series round. We've got cars from the ACT, Queensland, Western Australia, New South Wales. Pretty much that's the coverage. And the Western Australians coming across, that is a big, big commitment, man, because that's what, a 3-day trip at least from WA over here to Queensland?
Yeah, I think that's if you're pushing pretty hard.
If you're pushing pretty hard, so I'm being conservative. See, as an ex-Kiwi, I had no relevance of the distance you have to travel across Australia. Like for me, it takes less time to fly back to Auckland in New Zealand than it takes to get to Darwin.
Well, Rod and Catherine, listen, they really own and bring a truck across. And now they take turns driving that truck too, so they've both got licenses. So they're doing back-to-back driving.
I would love to do that Nullarbor trip once. I'd love to do it with either one of the drag racing teams or the sprint car teams that we know.
Formula V team.
I just don't want to do the trip back.
They need someone to drive the truck back later in the year.
I'll go with the Formula V team, doesn't bother me, but I want to try and do that Nullarbor trip. I think the sprint car teams back in the old World Series days, this is on Kinsella and McDonald, so that's a change in position. Kinsella goes through to second. The World Series sprint car guys used to have a competition. It was the World Championship of Kangaroos. They'd start the trip with how many kangaroos they were going to hit, and there was a bit of a money pool. There was quite a bit of money left at the end of it. Not that ideally hitting kangaroos is a good idea.
They're very competitive.
Yes, the sprint car teams are very, very competitive.
Kinsella, well, he's working his way through the pack at the moment, and now Reynolds is going to have to watch out. Kinsella looking very quick here in the number 35, already up into second position.
Ooh, it just snatched a little bit of oversteer. He got it turned in, and it just brought the rear end around, so he's trying very, very hard. All of these cars on a controlled Dunlop tyre. There's not a lot to that tyre. They are a very, very small, diminutive little race car, but they provide an awful lot of fun, and as Dylan Thomas has been alluding to throughout the weekend, a really, really cost-effective way of going motor racing. A little bit like an 86 in production cars, you should basically just throw some air at it and the tyre pressures and some fuel, maybe patch up the odd oil leak from some of these older Volkswagens here and there, but nothing a little bit of Celastic won't hurt.
The other thing I think is they get quite a lot of track time, don't they? They travel around the country.
Yeah.
They get quite a lot of track days as well, so laps are laps.
That's how motor racing used to be, travelling all over the country, chasing these national titles, and this is where a lot of the young motor racing drivers have got their starts. Out of karts, into Formula V, through to Formula Ford. Oh, Dylan Thomas ran a little bit wide there. They just about interlocked wheels.
Well, Westerhout did a nice job there because Dylan Thomas looked a little bit defensive, didn't he?
I'd say there was
that position up.
There was quite a bit of seesawing going on that steering wheel, and it's almost got like a Formula One style gaming wheel in there. It's very, very modern. And he was using all of the movement on that one, trying to get it turned into turn number 1. But so many of the young motor racing drivers on both sides of the Tasman got their start in Formula First racing. Here in Australia, I guarantee there's a lot of the supercar guys have gone through that process. I'd be surprised if Lowndesy didn't even drive one of these back in the day. Back in New Zealand, I've already spoken about Shane van Gisbergen racing this type of car in New Zealand in his younger years. And how's that for a swing? He won in Portland in the Xfinity race this morning in the US.
Well, he's a talent, and it all starts here, doesn't it, when you get into some of this grassroots racing. And
he raced Formula
we're going on
New
to
Zealand.
65 years here, so you know there's a lot going on.
Westerhout and Thomas are going to war.
He had some brake issues on Friday when we were here for practice, and they've managed to get past that because Westerhout's doing a fantastic job in the 38. It's pulling up fine now. He's getting Dylan Thomas under brakes, which is hard to do because he's a very seasoned racer as well.
And competitive. Oh, that was sideways. He just got it in.
Thomas
He got
it around.
He got it in just a touch deep into 10 and 11. And while he's mistimed the entrance, it just translates on the other side and makes it worse coming out the other side. He's just tagged the backside of that curb with those little Dunlops, and you do not want to do that with these race cars.
McDonald just in front of Casely now as they have a great competition going on for third place as we are in lap 6 of 8, so a lap and 3/4 still to go.
Kinsella's on the hunt, McDonald and Casely, 3rd and 4th. McDonald in the Jacer, Casely also running a Jacer. F2K6 versus the F2K8. I don't know what that means.
We'll have a look at the front though, with the time differences there with Reynolds and Kinsella. We're talking, you know, they're less than a 1/10 of a second in lap times between them. Then you go McDonald and Casely, who are battling now for 3rd position, and there again, they're less than a 1/10 between them.
So a little bit of separation, 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and then you've got another 2 further in behind in 5th and 6th, and that's Westerhout and Dylan Thomas. So you've got 3 distinct groups. Used to seeing
those tyres.
Yeah, those
protesting.
Dunlops are howling in protest as we sort of get to the late stages of this race. Race number 3, have they got another one? Was this race number 4?
No, race 3 it is for the Formula V.
Yeah.
We've still got we've had a great weekend of Formula V racing actually this weekend, and they put on some really competitive side-by-side. The rain yesterday probably took it away from them just a little bit. We had trouble seeing the numbers of the race cars as it looks like Kinsella's going to challenge Reynolds now. He's looking for a run down the straight. There's only 2 laps remaining in this race, so he's going to run out of corners soon. It is a tricky little... Oh, no, who's that? The 91? That looks like Callum Lamont.
He's out of the car. He's up on the tyre wall, so that's only just happened. Off to the side of the track. Now that's to the inside of the traditional exit line up over the top of the hill, but I think being late stages in this race and he's out of the car and out of the way, they might just let this go. But that looks like a bit of a nasty moment there for the youngster.
Well, we'll wait and see the great battle going on for the lead. Also for this position, number 3, understeer.
Oh, that was understeer.
You turn and the car goes straight as a heart-stopping moment as McDonald finally gets the front to grip up.
That was understeer, and then it's got the curve. It's picked that inside tyre up. That doesn't help when one tyre's in the air, and it's still understeering mid-corner. So Casely's trying to get a run on here as Kinsella had a little half look at the inside of Reynolds. 2 very, very different race cars. Have a look from front on the Reynolds car, a lot higher in the nose with the aero, whereas Kinsella's car, it's got a little bit more droop to the front of that car.
How does that go? One's got 4 national titles and one's got 4 national series.
So that's another Jacer. Here goes Kinsella to the outside. He got a great run on the straight. I think he's got overlap here. No! He switched back to try and get the cutback, and Reynolds had momentum and holds onto it with the final lap board out on the racetrack.
Well, just getting some word from race control. Looks like that's a mechanical issue there for Callum Lamont, and that's why he's pulled up there. It's not...
Yeah, it sort of looked like the front end was a bit beaten up, but he's just pulled it off the side of the track. Okay, well, that's good. It wasn't an accident.
We'll get back to this race. Battle for the last step on the podium still underway between McDonald and Casely, and they're going to take this all the way to the end of the race.
It's not done
still
over
on
for the lead.
First position as well, as Kinsella just pulls to the outside, try and sets up for an inside run.
Trying that crossover with a bit of a slingshot off the outside, but I tell you what, the Checkmate 78 has got some momentum.
Yeah, there's that little wobble, don't they?
That little shimmy, that little wobble with the front steering wheels, which is really, really weird to watch. Right, Kinsella, he's lining him up as Reynolds is going a little bit on the defensive here. Or Kinsella around the outside. He's going to try the long way around, cuts back into the draft, pulls back out under brakes into the last couple of corners.
How adventurous do they want to go down into 11 and 12?
Kinsella got a good run. Kinsella got a good run. He's weaving. He's all over the back of the 78. Needs a good exit run off here to try and get to the line. Has the 78 got the straight line? It looks like Kinsella pulls out of the draft. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. It's going to be very close. How close? 0.02 of a second. and Reynolds gets the win in the 78, 2/100ths of a second. That was probably not much more than half a car length.
Yeah, incredible finish there. McDonald holds on over Casely as well for third position. Westerhout, well, kept out Dylan Thomas for fifth. We check out this little battle going on now between Harriet and Lisson, and Harriet just out in front in the 16. Lisson is going to duck in behind, not going to get alongside, get the draft there, and we'll have to settle for a 9th position from Lisson. That'll be Rod as he goes over. Not only does he drive the truck, he gets out here and competes as well and does a fantastic job. And mechanical issues there, unfortunately, for Callum Lamont as he gets back in the car. Hopefully they can just get that started and limp that back, because we have seen a little bit of oil come out of these cars. That's probably the one thing we've noted out of these cars throughout the weekend. The Formula V results, here it is. Danny Reynolds from the ACT will get the win in the 78. Michael Kinsella, well, he's runner-up to Alex McDonald in third. David Casely in fourth, and it's Michael Westerhout, Dylan Thomas, Oliver Sybil, Matthew Harriet, Rod Lisson, and Mark Moran for your top 10. Brian Westerhouse in 11, Kathy Lisson in 12. Then it's Callum Lamont, who came off with some mechanical issues, and unfortunately we don't see Lachlan Shearsmith, Stephen Butcher a bit further back. And the Sternbecks obviously not in that race. We got the Queensland Touring Car Championships coming your way after this short break. Do not go anywhere.